Gamers have been fighting back hard against gender removal from video games. Unfortunately, there are a lot of studios that think that they're going to capture a new modern audience by removing male and female and adding body types A and B or 1 and 2, and that definitely isn't the case. And now Nintendo is facing major backlash for removing gender from the Mii avatar creation system. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, the Mii avatar creation system isn't something that's like major, it's not highlighted a lot. You don't have to put the time and effort into it, but if you want to, unfortunately, now you have to deal with BS like this. So it says, just before Nintendo launched its highly anticipated Switch 2 console, one of its quiet but significant changes has sparked renewed debate amongst players: the removal of gender. So this was actually posted over on X by Pirate Nation, but of course many people are talking about it now. It says several outlets confirmed this week that the Switch 2 will introduce a modified Mii character setup that removes traditional male and female gender selection in favor of two styles. These styles, which are not labeled with gendered language, allow for visual customization without defining characters as male or female. The classic Mii avatar designs from the Wii and original Switch remain unchanged in appearance. What's changed is how Nintendo wants players to identify them. There's even a disclaimer at the bottom of the screen warning players that the style you select for your Mii might be reflected as a specific gender in some software. This is obviously such a ridiculous change to make. You can clearly tell that one is supposed to be a male and one is supposed to be a female, and it even talks about how these are at times going to represent a gender in a video game. It's so stupid that we see so many companies removing these words because they think that, oh, it's not that big of a deal, but it is. There are tons of people who will ultimately see this and decide to not purchase your product, people who will decide to wait to buy something on a sale, or ultimately just roast you on social media. All companies are really doing is having another reason for people to, send backlash their way, to voice how unhappy they are, and to potentially not buy their products. We've seen a lot of companies doing this, especially overseas companies. We have seen a lot of Japanese studios decide to go for body types A and B or 1 and 2 instead of male and female. Even in something like Elden Ring, right? I love Elden Ring. I think it's a phenomenal game. And does having body types A and B completely ruin an experience for me personally? No. But I do still think that it is a performative change that most people do not appreciate. We have seen some developers kind of change their mind, like with Lords of the Fallen, but it was there in the first place, and that is definitely worrying for a lot of people in regards to the future of a company. Now, in that case, I don't think that they're ever going to go back to body types A and B or 1 and 2, but they did face backlash because of it for quite some time now. I think that when it comes to Japanese developers, there is a bit of a difference because while some Western studios, of course, have adopted these alterations, I think that with Japanese studios, they're afraid. In part. Sure, the Bandai Namcos are knee-deep in DEI and ESG initiatives, so they're not, but some others, like From Software, I think that they are genuinely in the belief that, oh, well, if the Western audiences want this, we could give it to them, but they are also afraid of cancellation. Of course, FromSoft is very big at this point, but they still could be canceled. They could still face boycotts. And there are a lot of studios, I think, that just don't really understand how disliked this change actually is, and it's like they've been brainwashed by the Western industry into believing that this is normal, that this is cool, that this is okay, and that this could lead to more potential sales, which definitely is not the case. Now, Nintendo is a company that a lot of people go back and forth with. Now, I personally don't think that Nintendo is the worst when it comes to the major companies. I think that Sony is very bad. Censorship, pushing a Western ideology, abandoning their Japanese audience, but I do think that Nintendo still has a hell of a lot of problems, and this is definitely one of them. You can't rely on Nintendo being consistent. Sometimes they'll hold their ground and say, absolutely not, we are not abandoning our Japanese audience. But then they do something like this, which is clearly aimed towards the sensitive snowflakes in the West. And it's like they think, well, this one change won't matter to a lot of people, so we might as well do it. And of course, this was changed very silently. Now, this is going to lead to a lot of backlash for them, I'm certain, and it will definitely be interesting to see what else they have altered. It says, though, of course, gamers have already voted, and the results were clear when it comes to the discussion of body types versus gender. Back in January, the CI Games CEO Marek Tymiński ran a now viral poll asking players how they felt about gender selection and character creation, and the results, an overwhelming 88% of more than 49,000 respondents said they preferred the traditional male or female options. Yeah, because not everybody is brainwashed, not everybody is insane. Male and female is what should be the default. Unless you are talking about a game like a Cyberpunk, where gender is not as important because you can just enhance your body in any way, shape, or form. In that case, I could understand a body type instead of a gender. But in a medieval fantasy game or in a character creator like a me system, yeah, male and female should be the default. Following this decisive feedback, Tymiński pledged not only to honor that preference in the future games, but to retroactively patch Lords of the Fallen to include male or female gender options, removing its controversial body type A and B system. He did exactly that and was rewarded with a sales explosion. I did an interview with him a couple of months ago around this time. I will link it below in case you want to see it, but it was absolutely great to be able to sit down with him and discuss the future of the company and Lords of the Fallen. And he basically just said, they want to make games for gamers, not for an audience who is not supporting them. I get that. With over 49,000 votes, 88% of you said you prefer male and female choice. As a player-first studio, we will update Lords of the Fallen and future titles in the series accordingly. And while Nintendo's decision may be an extension of its recent design trends, it also reflects a broader pattern in the gaming industry. Some developers are doubling down on gender politics, while others are returning to tradition. I think that we are going to see the divide get even worse. We are going to see people feel very strongly about this, and there are some sensitive snowflakes out there who will support this decision and say, yes, Nintendo was an ally, and Nintendo is so strong and so stunning and so brave, while other people are going to absolutely roast companies like Nintendo. And hey, I think that they make some really great products. Do I think that this is the end of the world? If you're a fan of the Nintendo Switch 2 or just Nintendo in general, no. You can probably look past this because it's a me system. How many people are actually creating me's? Though, you do need to be aware that Nintendo is not based by any means. CI Games' move was especially notable because it walked back a live products character system, something virtually unheard of. Tymiński's promise to overhaul Lords of the Fallen was praised as a rejection of divisive ideology and a return to what players actually want. Now, going over to social media and taking a look at the genders on the me's discussion, there are so many gamers saying this is absurd. So we went from body type A and B to style A and B. I guess it's, if you somehow try to mod it, they'll brick your console. That is also a problem. Of course they did, and here we go. Absolutely losing respect for them. Why do they refuse to acknowledge male and female? Japan has fallen. Someone needs to tell the Japanese that they don't have to do this anymore. They don't. They could do whatever they want, but I think Nintendo probably knows that, and they're still committed to it, at least for now. So while, of course, the Switch 2 just came out and it is doing really well so far from what we understand, they are going to keep facing backlash for this over the next couple of days. This isn't a system that is big and bold and in your face all the time, so I think a lot of people are going to overlook it, but I think that it is still very important to point out that Nintendo isn't a completely based company, and they are one of the many who is really not changing their position when it comes to pushing an ideology with their content. So I'll be keeping my eye on this to see if they make any sort of statement. I highly doubt it, but for now, that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.